Rajya Sabha Arun Jaitley మాట్లాడుతున్నారు లైవ్ చూద్దాం.
In the country, and I have not the least doubt that both the units which have been carved out, Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, in the long run will certainly be amongst the fastest growing states as far as India is concerned. But while we discuss this, we have to bear in mind that there are several issues which are of extreme political and at times even emotional sensitivity, as two of my colleagues in the ministry also, Mr. Venkaiah Naidu yesterday and Mr. Chaudhary today, expressed their sentiments. It's obvious that when we discuss in the public domain and the political domain issues relating to region, to caste, to religion, to language, water, each one of these issues has an ability to throw up a lot of sensitivity and become extremely emotive. And therefore, each one of us has the responsibility of approaching these issues with a sense of fairness and justice. In the past also, states in India have been bifurcated. Punjab was bifurcated into Haryana and Himachal Pradesh. All the three units which were carved out have done extremely well. And I belong to a political party which has conventionally believed that smaller states are better administrative units. When the first NDA government under Mr. Vajpayee was in power, we decided to create three states, Uttarakhand, Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh. Virtually unanimous resolutions were passed in the larger assemblies. There were different political parties in power in each of the states. After consultation and in a consensual manner, the states were bifurcated. That bifurcation did not result in any kind of a political crisis. It was by and large politically extremely smooth. My friend Mr. Jairam Ramesh, who is absent today, has raised a few questions when he opened the debate yesterday, particularly with regard to the proceedings of this House and also the Reorganization Act, as to what is the position with regard to each of the issues raised therein. He is also the author of a book on the story of bifurcation. Yesterday he claimed that he was also the author of the bill. It's a different matter that the strategy that he devised at that time as an expert on Andhra Pradesh resulted in Congress losing its deposit in all the seats. But that apart, where do we stand today? We stand today at a stage where the city of Hyderabad, which is an important commercial center, as a part of the bifurcation, goes to the state of Telangana. And that has created a situation where Andhra Pradesh has lost out on revenue. Even though in the long run, the state of Andhra Pradesh is bound to recover. If there is good governance in Andhra Pradesh, if they planned the affairs as are being planned by the government headed by Shri Chandrababu Naidu, and the sense of entrepreneurship of the people of that state itself, the state in the long run will get out of the revenue deficit situation that it is currently in. But for the present, It needs more urbanization, it needs the capital, it needs more industries to come in. And for some period, the state of Andhra Pradesh needs a handholding. And I would like to assure the honorable members of this House that the central government will fulfill all the responsibilities that it has in handholding the state of Andhra Pradesh so that it can recover to a level where the state then goes and progresses on its own. Sir, we must bear in mind how the state finances and the central government finances are to operate. The central government finances today predominantly come from certain categories of taxation, which is the direct income tax, which is central excise, customs duty, and service tax. Additionally, there are some non-taxation methods of raising revenue. The taxation that the central government has, from that taxation pool, by virtue of devolution, monies also go to the state government. The states have their own areas of revenue, their own taxations. That's the constitutional scheme under the Constitution, the state taxation areas. And in addition to the taxation a state collects, a state gets its share of devolution from the central taxes. Now the constitutional mechanism is very clear that a state government has its own resources, plus it gets its own devolution and then further support grants and support to the schemes, etc. from the central government. After having devolved those taxes, the central government, and there I would like to join issue with my friend from the Trinamool Congress, Mr. Sekendu Shekhar Roy, when he yesterday said the central government can just print currency and distribute it. I don't think that is the way a national economy is going to be run. 42% of central revenues now go to the states. The balance 58% which is with the central government has to take care of the country's defense. It has the huge bill of salaries and pensions. It has to repay back and service the loans, interest plus other loans. It then has to support out of this 52% a lot of central sector schemes which are operated through the state governments. And after doing all that, the central government has a deficit. This year the deficit is 3.9%. And in case there is a larger economic management of the country, that there is some sort of a crisis, then the central government has to spend more. For instance, when the current Honorable President was the Finance Minister and we had the global economic crisis, he had to spend 3% extra as an extra stimulus. And therefore our borrowing went up to 6.5%. So lakhs of crores have to be borrowed every year by the central government in order to operate its own finances. And therefore the size of the cake is limited, the size of the pie is limited. It's very easy in a debate of populism to say, all right, X state wants extra amount of money, give it to X, Y, Z, B, C, D, so that we can please everybody. But then let's bear in mind that India, that is the union of states, the union has to survive so that you can have India as a union of states. You can't have a financially vulnerable union that India eventually becomes only a confederation of states. That is not India's constitutional structure. It's a union of states. And therefore, to defend the country, to support itself, India must also, the central government must also have sufficient resources available for itself after having supported each state government. Now the framers of the constitution when they framed the structure as a part of federal India, how does the center assist the states? Are we today in a position that the central government can say, all right, for instance, a government can say, a UPA government or an NDA government can say, I have a friendly party or my own party in a dozen states, I will give them more money and I will give less money to some other political party. Our constitutional structure does not permit that. So whether it was the UPA government or the NDA government, there has to be constitutional norms in which monies have to devolve to the states. And the constitutional norm was prescribed for in the Constitution itself, which is Article 280. Now, under Article 280, a constitutional commission called the Finance Commission is created. It reviews the situation every 5 years. And after every 5 years, it decides how the center is going to help the states. It lays down the formula. And if I give a particular assistance to a state X, I give it to state Y. But the Finance Commission is equally concerned about the health of some of the states. For example, Andhra Pradesh in this case, the undivided Andhra Pradesh was a very progressive state. It was a revenue surplus state. And therefore, Andhra Pradesh would ordinarily have been dealt with as an undivided state on the same pattern as, let us say, Tamil Nadu or Karnataka or Maharashtra. These were healthy states. But the division created a situation that the more lucrative part has gone to Telangana because of Hyderabad, and undivided Andhra Pradesh, being a financially healthy state, unfortunately became a revenue deficit state. And becoming a revenue deficit state was one of the main reasons which was a cause of worry in this house, where my friends on the other side were sitting here and we were sitting on the other side. And even though many of us were in support of creation of the state of Telangana, we were equally concerned with the principle of fairness that when you create a new state of Andhra Pradesh, Simandhra as it was being called at that time, it has to be a viable state. What is the kind of assistance which is going to be given to the state of Andhra Pradesh itself? And while discussing this, in the Act, then in the Honorable Prime Minister's statement, a number of commitments are then made to the state of Andhra Pradesh that this is how we will take care of the interest of Andhra Pradesh. And I am going to candidly place each one of them before this Honorable House as to the kind of commitments. Section 9 says that center shall assist the successor state of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, both of them, to raise additional police forces. Section 30 deals with an issue which Telangana has been now raising, which is that the high courts must also eventually separate. The high courts have to eventually separate. But that is once the capital comes up, the high court shifts there, etc. Or if the states can come to some form of an arrangement between them, the center would like a situation. Section 46 was a very important provision. How is the revenue going to be distributed? And I'll just read out one or two sentences of Section 46. The award made by the 13th Finance Commission to the existing state of Andhra Pradesh shall be apportioned between the successor state by the central government on basis of the population ratio and other parameters. Which is, if I remember correctly, it's 58 and 42%. Yes, sir. 58 in favor of Andhra Pradesh. Provided that on the appointed day, the President shall make a reference to the 14th Finance Commission to take into account the resources available to the successor states and make a separate award for each of the successor states. Notwithstanding anything, etc., there will be a package for backward districts. Then there have to be adequate incentives for Rayalaseema. That's a commitment which has been made, and that is one of the responsibilities, I am straight away conceding, of the central government to make sure that these steps are taken in order to do this hand-holding as far as Andhra Pradesh is concerned. Thereafter, section 90 onwards are the several other. 84 speaks of 2 river boards to be created. Then section 90 says the Polavaram irrigation project is declared as a national project, because that's an important project which will bring water to a large part of the state itself. Though some of my friends from Orissa have some issues with regard to that, but that's a commitment made in an act which has been virtually unanimously.
As Telangana and Bhadrachalam is involved in the Polavaram project, I also have issues in that.
But the act.
The concerns regarding
The matter is substance.
You see,
Are you permitting that? Then I also want to say that. If you don't mind, but it's a serious matter. Thank you for yielding, Sir Finance Minister. Sir, the point is, in Bhadrachalam, there is my party's MLAs. He has been elected. He has been assigned to one state. The people who voted for him have now been shifted to the other state. His voters are in the other state. He sits in an assembly in this state. Now, sir, this is the anomaly that has happened. So we made a demand saying that permit this person to sit in both the assemblies. So you permit him, sir. Now this is the anomaly. So you please understand this anomaly. So I mean this has to be resolved. That's what I'm beseeching.
I think on a lighter note,
Okay.
it's not very surprising that Marxists and Marxist MLAs have an identity issue these days.